Okay, have you ever heard of somebody, and they say, you spot it, you got it? Well, that's not necessarily the case always. I know some people will take something like that and think that, oh, it makes them sound smart, so they go around telling everybody as if that's law. No, it's not. Okay, and it doesn't make people look smart either. But, I mean, I remember when somebody told me that, I said, I thought that was interesting. I said, but it's not exactly true. I mean, immediately my thought went to, that's not exactly true. Sometimes when you spot it, it's because it's a big old red flag waving around, that tells you, there's danger, there could be danger here of whatever kind. It doesn't always have to be physical. Mental, it can be mental, emotional, on and on. And, but you notice something that just kind of triggers in you something negative. Well, I don't know how to tell this story because it really wasn't one situation. But, I actually even went to guidance, as I do, because I really truly think that Christianity, I don't know enough about any of the other ones to know if they are, but Christianity, to ask, what would Jesus say on something like this? I think that it's a good guide to how to behave. I think I've always thought this, for even people who, don't believe yet. Let's say yet. Hopefully they do. But I think it's a good guide to, how to think about things. How to handle situations in public. And just by the record, I just, when I looked it up just before I came out here, there was the part about turn the other cheek. And I was thinking about this recently, and I wasn't trying to be blasphemous or anything like that. But turn the other cheek, in other places in the Bible, it does say you don't have to continue to put yourself up for somebody to be abusive toward you. Okay? And I was thinking about turn the other cheek, somebody slaps you on one side, turn the other cheek, and, but that turn the other cheek could also mean that you're turning and walking away from them. I mean, in that sense, if they're going to take up that and hit you on the other, you walk away. You're walking away. You're moving in the other direction now. They're kind of symbolic more than actual literal. So, but I looked it up. I'm a social and behavioral scientist, but I'm also a Christian. And lately I've been trying to be more of a good Christian, and, so think about what I say. Think, the whole thing of, I'm not one that's going to quote which scripture or which, all that. I'm just not. I don't even know the terminology enough. But, I think this one is in Mark. Okay. It's about as close as you're going to get to me, because I've always had trouble since I was a child with remembering, like, the names and the numbers or something like that, of things. But it is about that whole thing of, or exact quoting, but of, it's something about, you're going to talk about, or, the speck in your brother's eye instead of the, what term did they use? The log in your own. The brother has a speck or in his eye, but yours is a big old log. So then basically, check yourself first. Are you doing it? Did you spot it because you got it? Is it more like you? And remember, like I said, it's not always the case. If you don't, it could be a red flag. Somebody's not right. Something that happened before in your life, and you knew this is a person you should not even be around, because they, they cause the bad reactions in you. It causes bad reactions in you. And, well, this is something that happened, and it wasn't the first time. And it was a safety issue for me and Adam. Okay? Because, we're getting older. I'm 63. He's older. I don't tell his age. That's his business. And, he's older. And Adam knows, by the way, that I make videos and talk about him. He's fine with it. So, he has been for, September will be 12 years. So, anyway, we went to a store, okay, yesterday. I was telling him that I had noticed that since I ran out of a certain, it's a pickle, okay? It's a hamburger slice pickle, pickles, plural, a jar of them. And since I ran out of them, and I was telling him, that I could be totally wrong, full of BS or whatever. But I always had this thing, that because I have this rare health condition, it's not going to be the same as all other people. And even within the rare health condition, a person can be different from one to the next, of course. We're not all the same. And it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing either. But with me, when I eat, if I have this, you got to watch the sodium on pickles, big time. And not all of them, but some of them, woo. But it's a hamburger slice. It's thin. If I eat one or two of those, depending on the size of them, after I eat, I don't have this reaction, and that's just me. Might not be anybody else. I'm not a voice of authority on this. Like I said, I can be just full of BS all around, and not knowing what I'm talking about here. But I had noticed whenever I had that, after I eat, I don't have that reaction that some me, for one, I only know me, I don't know anybody else with it. I don't have the reaction that I've read about that some people have that have this rare health condition, and that is to want more food. After I eat a meal, I'm all of a sudden hungry again. So if I have that, hamburger slice pickle, or like I said, depending on size, this not the whole pickle, just a slice. They're sliced like you put on hamburgers. That I don't have that reaction. I'm stressing all of this stuff on purpose. Rare health condition might not fit for you. Don't take mine as advice. I'm not a healthcare provider nor a voice of authority on it. I'm stressing, etc. on purpose. So yesterday, I haven't had any of those for, I don't know, and sometimes I buy, it's one brand, and it's the only one that I can handle, and I know how it works for me. But the thing about it is, I told Adam early on, I said, I've had those since I was a child, okay, that one brand, but I had stopped eating anything like that for many years, decades even. Then I found them again. I loved them, man. But then I told him, I said, I don't know why some of these jars, and they're like $2 for a little bitty jar, I said, why do some of them taste so different? And he was saying, forget vinegar, and the whatever they call the person who makes them, and all this stuff. And I'm like, but this is the same product. You would think they would have a standard, how they make them and everything, standard recipe or whatever. Nope. The last 3 little bottles I got tasted awful. Then 2 of them didn't even have a taste. It's like, what, did they put them in water? Just pure water. It just didn't have any taste. Really. So, see, and there's an important reason why I say this, all that stuff, but just, I told Adam yesterday, I said, I gotta do this because I'm constantly being hungry right after I finish eating. And so I said, let's go to this store. So he was game for it, but we failed to think it was Friday, June 19th. Today's June 20th. It's 1:22 p.m. and 89 degrees. So anyway, here in Texas, north of Dallas. But anyway, so we went to the store, and where I usually buy them. And we went in, and I wanted to get, there's certain ones I like are in a big thing. I buy the small ones because I'll transfer some from the big one into the small one. It's a whole thing for me. And I like when I leave them and open them up a few times, that it gets some of the strong smell out of it and strong whatever, and it works for me that way. But first place didn't have him. So, but in the first place we went, which is where I usually buy them, and I usually order them to be delivered, because I found that the ones around here don't taste so great, and the ones that are ordered and or shipped in, they taste so much better. So much better. Weird. Yes, weird. And I know this is a big old long explanation for something, but it was important. And I was a little, upset because I went there. The one thing I went to the store for, they didn't have. And Adam was with me. And he likes to, walk. But when we got to the store, as it was, I'm in physical therapy again. I've been once, and just the once was just a little bit of, it wasn't even out on the floor, I guess you'd call it. With all the other people, it was in her office, she was measuring, how, when, and where I feel pain or whatever, and just a little bit of stuff. And then I'm not talking like a long, hour long, no, just a little bit of stuff. I got home and the next day I was hurting. Okay, I mean, I was feeling it, but, and walking, as far as walking, I have to work myself back up to it. I mean, I have had I've been maybe downplaying it quite a bit. I talk about it a lot, but downplaying it apparently, because between the pneumonia and whatever was, pneumonia in May and parts of the month and after, but mainly in May. And last year, whatever it was in September that I had, it was really bad. They don't know what it was. But, and all these other things since 2023, the weird stuff, man. Life is trying to kill me here, But I've had a lot of times I have had to build up my stamina again to do things like walking. Seriously, walking. And so I would be on those, when I get to the store, I could walk into the store, but sometimes I have to have the shopping cart to help walk me, like a walker, and get in the store, and I'd have to use one of those electric shopping carts. Sometimes. Then I'd build up some stamina, and I wouldn't have to. One time I thought I had built it up, and I was right in the middle of a big, huge super center, grocery store / whatever else store. Huge in Texas, everything's bigger, as the expression goes. And I was right in the middle, and I told Adam, I said, I can't walk anymore. I have to go, And I said, maybe I'll go get can you go get me a shopping cart? I'm not getting you one of those. Adam's got an attitude. He did later on, but he doesn't like it. And so I said, well, I'm gonna walk. I want you. He was walking next to me, so I think we transferred stuff in my shopping cart into his, and I walked out and got in the SUV, and I was like, oh, that was bad. It was just something said stop, But anyway, that wasn't yesterday. That was, I think, last year. And so, but yesterday, so we walked in there. It was Friday. Didn't think about it. We often go on Friday, but we go during the day, earlier during the day. We weren't thinking that it was 5 or 5:30 on a Friday, and it was a holiday weekend. Okay. Yesterday was Juneteenth, and isn't there something on Monday? Oh, and tomorrow is Father's Day. That's what it is. So it's kind of like, the mixture, two of two. Anyway, we went to, so we went to this same super center thing to get to where I used to. There's 2 stores that we get them from, so went in there, and I got there, and there were none of those shopping carts. None of those shopping carts. Electric shopping carts. Now, this is a big one for me, because that product is kind of like in the middle of the store. And Adam said, oh, you can do it. You know, he was all, you can do it, you can. And I'm like, okay, let's just see what happens. And I did see this young man who had a dog. I guess it was a, what do they call it? You know, he ran out in front of me kind of, because there was one of those shopping carts. Somebody had brought one of them back, the electric shopping carts, and just left it outside. And he ran toward it. He had a dog, what do they call it, service dog? I'm thinking it was a service dog with him, and he just kept staring at me kind of funny. I'm like, I'm not saying anything to you. You know? Anyway, but then when I got in, I saw there weren't any. And that's a huge store. I'm leaving out the name of it on purpose. And so I got a regular shopping cart. It took me a little bit to get the one that I want, because I always snap in my purse in the, you know, where you usually put kids with the little belt. Snap my purse. I came up with that years ago and said this is the smart thing to do. Nobody had told me. I came up with it for myself, because I was at a store and I think some women were staring at my purse. I said, and from now on, if they try to take my purse, they're going to take the shopping cart along with them, and that's going to hurt. So that's how my mind works. And anyway, so I'm going around in the store, and Adam's there, and sometimes Adam and I will split up and go do our own thing. And he was just being like, he was in a rush again. I don't like shopping with Adam too much, because he's always in a rush. He wants to get in there, get something, go, you know. And it takes me longer. It's not that I want to linger around. I don't care to linger, but it just takes me longer, you know. Especially since I'm in physical therapy for reasons, you see. And he's just. It's kind of like how he eats. He sits down and he just starts stuffing his mouth. I'm a quarter. I could say if we get tacos, you know, whatever, those soft tacos, like we tried one time. These two, you know, we both got two at one place. I don't know why in the world I got two. I'm doing good to eat one. And you know, soft tacos or burritos or whatever. And he had finished his, and he's always does that. Looks at my plate while he's eating. What is he gonna take from my plate? So I usually don't finish it, so I'm not 44 years, I'm okay with it. But he does everything quickly, you know, pretty much because he wants to get back outside and smoke a cigarette. That's how I see it. And no, I'm not gonna go rushing through the store. And I told him, I said, I'm not gonna do this. You know, I'm not gonna rush. And with me, I had to have a shopping cart still. But still, it's a lot on me, because, like I said, I'm in physical therapy for a reason, for reasons, plural. And it was going to be kind of a little tough for me. And it was. Okay, and so then he came up to me and he started arguing with me about something. And I think he was wanting to rush out that door and get to a cigarette, you know. And because, you know, he hadn't had one since before we left the home and our house, you know, and all this stuff. And it had been a little while. Oh, poor baby. He's supposed to not be smoking anymore. But, you know, I quit years ago. But, so he starts this argument, and there's this guy that walks behind us. He's a young guy. You know, I don't know him. He wasn't working there. He was on the cell phone and talking pretty loud, like I could hear all of his business, what he was talking about with this woman. And Adam's over here irritating me. You know, just it was because we couldn't find those pickles. You know, the whole thing was, for whatever reason, it irritated Adam. And then he started saying things to me, which, I'm a Texan woman. I'm not taking crap off of you. If after 44 years he needs to learn, and yes, you could say me too, and that's what I do. I'm not going to take it. I'm not. And the guy's hearing this conversation, and Adam says, well, how do you know that those are bread and butter pickles? Because I don't like bread and butter pickles. And the other one has the name Bread and Butter, and this one says, doesn't. And I said, that's the same one you bought me the other day, and I told you those are bread and butter. And I don't like them. Because he likes to go to the store and say, what do you want? Because he likes to walk around in another store by himself. He goes to get his cigarettes. And he likes to walk around, get some exercise each time. So he wants to pick up some stuff. So he always gives me the wrong pickles. I know, but I wasn't taking it. And that guy was hearing, I was hearing the guy's conversation. Adam was irritating me on the other side. And, you know, the guy was like, he was listening and laughing. And it was very irritating. I'm trying to stand up at the same time and, you know, be comfortable. I got to get out of the store, you know, fast myself. Trying to find these, you know, you know, when I'm standing, I'm real tall as it is. Not real tall, but tall enough. And then probably way on the bottom, way stuffed in the back. You know, it was too much. I was on overload. With the guy standing there and Adam being so irritating. He was purposefully pushing my buttons. Okay, Adam and his family, I've said this before, things like, they think things are funny. His whole family, and a set of cousins and all that whole family, they think things are funny, like gaslighting. He saw that movie, 2 or 3 years ago, whenever. He goes, I didn't know that was a bad thing. We think it's funny. It's fun. And not only gaslighting, but things like pushing your buttons, they find it's funny and fun. I said, who raised you? No, seriously. You find things like I call them the actually family, because anytime somebody says something to him, it can be a total stranger, it can be somebody like me they just met, like his cousin's son, who's like 45 now, probably. You meet me and you tell me, immediately tells me that I mispronounce my own name. This is the nerve of these people. This his family. The ones that come into your visit and they change the kitchen around. Change things where things are, who are you? It's just amazing what these people do. So Adam's trying to irritate me on purpose, you know, because I said, that's not the one I want. And he's in a hurry. He wants to get out the door. You see? Breathe. That's how I am. Breathe. Seriously. I mean, I know people like his whole family. But there's other people I know like that too. Seriously. That's not my first rodeo in seeing people like that. And especially if they smoke cigarettes. You know. So then that guy's on the cell phone, you know, he's all important, he's a little too loud, and he thinks that his voice is what everybody should be listening to. You know that kind. And so anyway, I dissolve that scene quickly and go about my business, and I like to lose Adam in the store. It used to be, I thought it was the other way around. It might not be the other way around. It might be me purposefully losing him. You know, because oh man, really, oh wow. But so we're going to the store, and then we're going to leave. Finally, we met up at this other one, and we're going to leave because I finished what I was doing, and we're walking down. You know, these big super centers and big super stores, and some are called super centers, some are called super stores, whatever. They're not malls, they're just one store. And, I mean, huge. Everything's bigger in Texas. Huge. And the aisles, I mean, I've seen other places, these stores, people who do videos and other ones, and they're generally not that big, as big. And, like, on one side, you have this in the middle of aisles. And on each side, you can have two people walking with shopping carts next to one another, going in each direction, easily. And then in the middle, they have little shelves of stuff, all the way down. So one side's like when you drive on the street, the other side's like when you drive on the street. People can walk side by side on each side, going each direction. two people with two shopping carts. Well, I'm walking down there, and Adam's way far ahead of me. He's standing there watching me, and, at the end, he's already there, and he's looking at me, because I'm not walking very fast by that time, and I wasn't walking very fast the whole time. And there was these two women behind me. And, you know how sometimes you hear somebody, you kind of do a little look backwards, but you don't look at them in the face, you see. And I was trying to see, well, why are y'all having trouble getting around me that they shouldn't have had? I'm in the slow lane, in Texas, slow lane is the right lane. It's not the same in Louisiana, by the way. Not the last time I was there. But, so I'm in the far right lane, kind of thing, going in the right direction, so are they. And, Adam's way up there seeing the whole thing. And I kind of move over, I'm going slow, but they kept following me. They wouldn't go into that. And I'm like, why are they doing that? Why are they, following so close behind me, like as if they're on the road, they're going to be tailgaters, Go around. You got a whole side for yourself. And anyway, I don't say anything, but I'm walking slow, and I'm not going to speed up. It's that simple. I'm not going to endanger myself for somebody else. Period. And this is inside of a store. So, something happened, I think. I don't know what it was, but I had to stop. Oh, my alarm went off on my phone, inside my purse, for me to take my medications. I have them on my cell phone to take medications and insulin I take insulin twice a day usually, but the difference in times that I take everything can be like 6 or 7 times a day. So my alarm goes off. You see what I'm saying? And so it reminds me. Lots of detail. I'm doing the details on purpose. But so I stop, and I'm on that side, and finally they're going to finally go around me. They have plenty of room. But it seemed like still didn't see their face, but I saw that they had blondish hair in a ponytail, and I could kind of see that they looked like they had to be maybe mother and daughter, like the mother was in her 40s and the daughter was in her 20s. And plus the way they walked and what they were wearing, and that would be making major assumptions, but I could also hear what they were talking about, and altogether it made me think that. But I also realized they were probably women who did a lot of bodybuilding. And they were wearing something that you wear to do workouts, workout clothes that weren't cheap. They weren't, it doesn't matter what they were, but they could tell that this is kind of what they did. Now, that's the second time I've been in stores like that. That was what that was. That, it had something to do with bodybuilders, but those were men. But what's this with bodybuilding? Really. And there's 2 different stores. 2 different locations, I should say. But, I'm like, okay, they walked around, and all of a sudden, Adam was staring at me, and I'm going to jump, and I'm going to leave stuff out. And Adam was, I was closer to Adam, so he was saying, well, what are you waiting on? Like that. Because he heard my response. And you remember I had this shirt that says, my filter is broken? It is not really like on purpose. I'm not being mean, or it's just that something happens and I have a natural response, okay? And, well, maybe I will say it kind of smelled like they didn't bathe. And it was very, very, very strong. Okay. Yeah, see, I kind of not want to say that, because it's kind of disgusting, and when Adam said, I'm not even going to say. But it was like, could be, I don't know. It was just so disgusting. And when somebody smells like they, it was these 2 women. Maybe they did just get out of working out and everything, and it was unbelievable smell. And And here I am walking slow, so anyway, Adam, he's a little more crass, I'd say. And I told him, I said, because of that last situation with the guys that were bodybuilding, one of them, when I saw him, I think I saw him when he was trying to jump over the checkout thing, or he did. I don't remember which one, because it was a really bad scene. And here comes Adam. Okay. So he has to bother me. Every time I come out, and I come out because it's too noisy in the house, and I want some privacy to make my videos feel comfortable, and he'll come out every time. Seriously, he was checking the mail this time. That's his reason. But anyway, he's cooking lunch, and I'm hungry too. We're co-cooking as we do. I call him my sous chef. And I'm teaching him how to cook. I really actually am teaching him how to cook and not to starve if something happened, like I was in a hospital or something. He wouldn't be eating really bad food. So anyway, Adam says what he says, and I get there. Just the smell was so awful. Okay, that's where I left off. And then, the story before, what had happened at the other location with the other bodybuilders, and they were men, they were friendly, they saw me earlier in the store, and they were just real nice. They were right at the same section, and being like smiling at me, this kind of stuff, just nice, just that. But then what had happened, and I've made videos about this, just a man walked in and just started screaming, and it made me think about what you see on TV. I'm gonna leave it there. And lots of people in the store, was this big old superstore kind of thing, and people were scared, and people were running, like trying to find somewhere to hide. And I was in an electric shopping cart. That was another time. I think that was after the September thing, maybe. The other time, or maybe before it, you never know. But, yeah, and it brought that up, in my mind again. And I said, okay, this is, this is kind of telling me that this is not. And I told Adam, when we got out in the SUV, I think, I said, this is kind of telling us we do not need to be shopping here. I said, some of these people seem so dangerous. I said, those two women, I had a natural response to a stench, like you would not believe stench. Odor. It was natural. Response, whoo, whoa. I said, those two women were bodybuilder type. They could have turned around and done me some physical damage, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, I am 63, and I was telling him, I said, it's time we realize our age and, really think about it, and that's just not the kind of store we should be shopping in, where things like this keep happening. And they can be in any store, I know, but it tends to, because the other one, the other strike was at a different store, but I think they're associated with one another. And when you find store brands on the other one's website, their app, whatever you want to call them, yes, they're selling the store brand from the other one. What? That wasn't the first time I thought it, but there was more. And I'm like, from now on, I want to shop. And I told him and I just saw this store, went shopping in another town, and we're physical therapy. It's not actually the town, the suburb. It's another one near it. I saw that they were opening up a new store there of this one that suddenly, it's HEB. It's called HEB. They're suddenly opening up a lot of them in this area of Texas, and they haven't ever had them in this area of Texas. There may have been one, but I don't know where it was. And I had lived in places where they had HEBs. HEBs. I loved HEB. But then we moved up here, didn't have any. So, So from now on, that's what I want to do, shop at H-E-B, you know. Even though we had a problem one time. Actually, it was when they just first opened. It wasn't really a problem. It was packed. I mean, they just first opened. And there was not a barely a parking space. You had to drive around for a while to find one. And it's still like that. I think a lot of people liked it that we have another option. You know, it's not just one store either. We have other options finally up here. You know, there were several stores. But this is, we have H-E-B now. You know? So, anyway, I told Adam that, you know, that you know, it was something that, you know, just totally like, it's not the right kind of people. You know, when you can go to a store and you kind of feel threatened, you know, by people. Like I'm in this, like I said, you know, a few times, you know, not few, but sometimes, not very many either, really. I've used these electric shopping carts, and I think, man, you attract people. It seems like, you know, I don't want to act like I'm blaming the victim, me, or blame any victim that's in a electric shopping cart. So what? You could, you know, have a broken leg, whatever. I mean, first time I ever used one was I had fallen on the concrete, exercising, walking on the sidewalk, and I busted both of my knees up. The skin really bad, and I had trouble walking. And immediately, and it was at one of these big stores, neither one of these two, other ones. And some woman kept walking out in front of me and acting, and the way she was talking, acting like I deserved it. Her to rush out in front of me and show me that she's first, and she was around my age. You know, and I was talking about another one, the one at another store, the one I think was connected, just last week, was it? Week before, whenever. The woman told me to move out of her way. And boy, I went all politely, sternly, firmly, stand in line and wait your turn. You know, who do you think you are? Are you that entitled? You're going to ask me, someone on one of these electric shopping carts, to move out of your way? But the thing was, and she tried to push me. I was standing up to reach for a bag in the produce department. You know, they have them way up there. They don't think about people who are in shopping carts, apparently. And who are in shopping carts, who are in using electric shopping carts. So I had to stand up. You know, you're going to have to get on them somewhere and get off of them, you know, outside, just to get in to use one. But this woman, apparently, maybe she like I realized she may have thought I was an employee, but I don't care. Who does she think she is, speaking to anybody that way? So I turned around and she was gone. She deserved that. But anyway, I'm not a person that's purposefully being any certain way, but I will take up for myself. I'm Texan woman. It's cultural. You know, we don't take BS off of anybody. We don't take crap off of anybody. Tend to. There's some, but it's rare. Seriously. We're tough. Look it up. And so anyway, the combination, like I said, it was that. And then I said that I looked it up right before I came out here to see what would Jesus say about something like that. And then I put in the situation. And it told me that, which of these things I know, Jesus was around sinners and people who, like leprosy, and, people who were thought of as, bunny rabbits here, unclean, bunny rabbit ears. They were unclean and such like that. But it also said when it comes to a personal safety issue, then that would be first and foremost, personal safety. And I do think that that's a personal safety issue for Adam and I. And we had talked about that when we left, that, there's people in these stores that are so rough and tough, and it's just not, it's just, it worries both of us. He's older, like I said, and people who have attitude problems, Adam was having an attitude problem. And that guy could have been, like I've told him before, I said, you're going to do something like that and one of these bubbas are going to come after you. I've told him. I've warned him. He's not from this country. He's much less from Texas. You know. I said, you got to watch these bubbas, man. You know, especially in Texas. The whole thing of don't mess with grandma. You know, somebody who's the grandma age. You just don't mess. You know, there's a show. I did not know that until just read, like, when was it, last week? That's called Don't Mess with Grandma in Texas. You know, so I don't know the name of it, but it's in Texas. I tried to watch it. I just couldn't get into it. Plus, the channel I was watching, it was difficult. But something was going wrong. I don't know. Anyway, boy, I did a major stream of consciousness. But yeah, you know, it was, it made me think, and then, you know, I read that. It said, you know, I understand. I mean, I'm around a lot of people, different kinds of people, in my whole life. It's, you know, my whole family and their history, their roots. It's like that it's kind of like set up like that, you know. Kind of was in the past like that. They're so very diverse, I guess. And, you know, like, and one of the ways I realized a few years ago was that each family had this kind of thing happen. Like there would be one that came from a wealthy family, like my mother, and one that did not, like my dad. But in my dad's family, he had, when my dad's mother died when he was 14, his father said, you're on your own, sonny boy, and left. He had two sisters. One went to a wealthy family in their wealthy grandparents, I think. And the other one, she was 18 on her own. And he had to go sleep in a barn for one of them's wealthy family. You know, something like that. There was a story. But they always had, like, one side was wealthy, the other side wasn't. Then they married like that. I have no idea why. But in my family, I say wealthy, some of them were just well off, you know, or they were comfortable, like I say, Adam and I. Adam and I are the ones who are comfortable in my family. And my siblings were the ones who are comfortable. And me, Adam, of course, is not in my family, but you know, he's not blood. It's marriage, this kind of thing. But you know, and that's how it always has been. And it's interesting. I need to go in and eat. I'll talk to you on another video.